The containment facility on Station Gamma hummed with the sterile efficiency of 1,000 automated systems. Director Hayes stood before the observation window, watching the creature in the cell below. She was humanoid, mostly blue-gray skin that shimmered like oil on water, eyes too large and too dark, limbs that bent at angles that shouldn't have been possible. Beautiful in a way that made humans uncomfortable. Subject displays continued emotional attachment to human personnel, the medical officer reported, reading from her datapad. Recommendation stands, enhanced isolation protocols. Hayes nodded slowly. The alien designation X-47, though she insisted her name was Vira, had been aboard the station for 6 months. A refugee from a dying world, one of a handful who'd made peaceful contact. And she'd done the unthinkable. She'd fallen in love. Where's Mitchell now? Hayes asked. Transferred to the outer ring. No contact for 3 weeks. In the cell below, Vera pressed her 3-fingered hands against the transparent barrier. Her mouth moved, forming words in broken English that the observation deck couldn't hear. Hayes looked away. Keep it that way, she said. 3 decks down, James Mitchell sat in the cramped quarters assigned to maintenance workers and stared at his hands. They were ordinary hands. Human hands. He'd never thought much about them until Vera had touched them for the first time. Her skin cool and smooth, her expression full of wonder. You feel warm, she'd said in her careful accented English. Like sunlight. That had been 4 months ago, before the others noticed. Before the whispers started. Before Command decided that a human fraternizing with an alien, even a peaceful one, represented a contamination risk, a security threat, a diplomatic incident waiting to happen. He'd been warned, reassigned, forbidden from entering the habitation sectors. He went anyway. The ventilation shafts on Gamma Station were older than most of the crew, installed during the initial construction 30 years prior. Mitchell had spent 5 years maintaining them. He knew every access panel, every junction, every shortcut through the station's metal bones. The shaft above Vera's cell was narrow, but he'd made the journey twice before. His shoulders scraped against the metal as he crawled, the sound of his breathing loud in his ears. Below, through the mesh grating, he could see her. She sat on the floor of her cell, her legs folded in that impossible way, her head tilted back as if she could sense him above. Maybe she could. Her people had senses humans didn't understand yet. Vera, he whispered. Her head snapped up. Those dark eyes found him through the grating, and her face transformed. Humans called the expression a smile, though her mouth didn't move quite right for it. Something deeper, more fundamental. James, she breathed. I'm sorry, he said, the words tumbling out. I'm sorry they did this to you. It's not right. Your people fear, she said simply. Her English had improved dramatically in 6 months. They do not understand. Love is not contamination. I know. You risk much coming here. He pressed his hand against the grating. Below, she reached up, her fingers stretching toward his. They couldn't touch. The gap between them was only inches, but it might as well have been light years. They think you're dangerous, Mitchell said. That you'll manipulate me. Use me. They've got doctors who say human brains aren't equipped to handle emotional bonds with non-human intelligence. That it's a form of psychological damage. Vera's eyes darkened further, if that was possible. And you? What do you think? I think they're terrified, he said. Humanity spent so long alone in the universe. Now we're not. And instead of celebrating that, instead of being grateful for every peaceful contact, every chance to learn, we lock it away. Put up walls. Make it dangerous to care. Your people survived by being careful, Vera said softly. By questioning. This is not wrong. It's wrong when it hurts people who don't deserve it. She tilted her head, a gesture he'd come to recognize as deep thought. Where I come from, there is a saying. The flower does not blame the stone for being hard. Your people are stones, James. They are strong, enduring, but they do not understand softness. You're not soft. You survived the destruction of your entire world. I survived because I learned when to bend, she said. Your people do not bend. They break or they make others break. Footsteps echoed in the corridor below. Mitchell froze, his heart hammering. Through the grating, he saw 2 guards enter the cell block, their faces hidden behind helmets. Movement detected in the ventilation system, one said into his radio. Section 4, near the containment cells. Go, Vera whispered urgently. Please. But Mitchell didn't move. Something had shifted inside him during the crawl through the shafts, during the weeks of forced separation. He was tired of hiding, tired of watching good people, human or otherwise, suffer because of fear. No, he said. He found the access panel, the one he'd loosened on his last visit, and kicked it hard. The metal shrieked and fell, clattering to the floor of the corridor. The guards spun, weapons rising. Mitchell dropped down, landing hard, his knees protesting. He raised his hands immediately, a gesture of surrender, but he didn't step away from Vera's cell. James Mitchell, one guard said, recognition in his voice. You're in violation of direct orders. I know. Step away from the containment unit. No. The guards exchanged glances. They weren't enforcers by nature. Most Essetian security were just people doing a job, following protocols designed by others. Good people, caught in a system that demanded compliance over compassion. Sir, we don't want to use force, the second guard said, and Mitchell heard the reluctance in his voice. Then don't, Mitchell said. Just let me talk to the director. Let me make a case. It doesn't work that way. Then maybe it should. The standoff stretched. Behind him, Mitchell heard Vera move to the front of her cell, her hands pressed against the transparent barrier. He could feel her presence like warmth on his back. Your species, she said suddenly, addressing the guards, traveled to the stars because you dared to dream. You dared to imagine beyond your world. Why do you stop now? Why do you fear the very thing you sought? The first guard's weapon lowered slightly. Orders are orders. Orders, Mitchell said, are written by people who are scared, people who think control equals safety. But you know what actually makes us safe. Understanding, connection, being willing to extend trust even when it's hard. Pretty words, the guard said. But words don't change regulations. No, a new voice said from the corridor entrance. But people do. Director Hayes stepped into view, her expression unreadable. Behind her, a small crowd had gathered, crew members, scientists, other maintenance workers. Word had spread fast. Stations were small worlds. Secrets never lasted. Mitchell, Hayes said tiredly. Do you have any idea what you've done? Yes, ma'am. You violated security protocols, disobeyed direct orders, and created a diplomatic incident. Yes, ma'am. She studied him for a long moment, then looked past him to Vera. You really believe this is worth your career? I believe some things matter more than careers. Hayes exhaled slowly. The galaxy is watching us, Mitchell. Every species we encounter, every first contact, they're all evaluating whether humanity is ready to join the larger community. And what do you think they see? They see us imprisoning refugees, treating peaceful visitors like threats, punishing our own people for showing compassion. Mitchell blinked, thrown by her tone. It wasn't anger. It was exhaustion. Maybe, Hayes continued, we've been asking the wrong questions. Not, how do we protect ourselves from the unknown, But how do we become worthy of what the universe is offering us? She turned to the guards. Release the containment protocols. All of them, Director? One guard stammered. You heard me. X-47 Vera is not a prisoner. She's a guest. And we're going to start acting like it. The cell's barriers disengaged with a hiss. Vera stepped forward cautiously, as if expecting the opening to vanish. Mitchell moved without thinking, meeting her at the threshold. Up close, without barriers between them, he was reminded of how different they were. Her skin was cool under his touch, her bone structure alien, her eyes reflecting light in colors humans couldn't name. Different in every measurable way. And yet, thank you, she whispered, her voice breaking on the words. Thank you, he replied, for being brave enough to care anyway. Hayes watched them, her expression softening. The universe is bigger than we ever imagined, she said, speaking to the assembled crowd as much as to Mitchell and Vera. And if we're going to survive in it, we need to be bigger too. Bigger than our fear. Bigger than our prejudice. Bigger than the walls we build to keep ourselves safe. She turned to leave, then paused. Mitchell, you're on report. And you're also leading the new First Contact Cultural Integration Program. Congratulations. As she walked away, the crowd began to disperse, some murmuring approval, others clearly uncomfortable. Change never came easy. But it came. Mitchell looked at Vera, seeing his own reflection in those dark eyes. Two beings from different worlds, different biologies, different histories. But the same capacity for hope. What happens now? Vera asked. He smiled. Now? Now we figure it out together. Above them, through the station's viewports, stars wheeled in their ancient dance. The universe turning, vast and strange and full of possibility. And on one small station, spinning through the dark, two,